I lived in a barracks. We had a building that was H-shaped, and the two upright ends of the H were the living quarters. It's a big open room, about 16 by 50, and we just had bunks up and down the walls, and that's where we slept. Had our lockers, kept our food, kept all our personal property. And a guy on one end of the building, if he was talking loud, we'd hear it at the other. And in between the connecting part of the H, that's where our bathrooms were, our showers, wash basins, and that's where we lived in.
I had a couple of different living conditions. In our base camp, we had a building that was surrounded by barbed wire inside the Vietnamese compound inside their perimeter, so it was relatively protected. And we had a single building that had a cement floor and 10 sides and a tin roof. So we had a covered building, and we had cots inside to sleep on. Out in the field, though, we either slept on the ground, or if we had trees in the area, in the jungle type environment, we had these nylon hammocks that you could tie off on each end to a tree, and then you'd be off the ground in a hammock, and that was pretty comfortable sleeping, a lot better than being on the ground. That was often damp and had bugs and stuff. And in either case, you always had to dig a foxhole right by the place you were sleeping in case you were attacked at night. You'd have a protective position to get in and avoid getting hit by shrapnel if they were shooting mortars at you, or getting shot directly if they were using rifles or machine guns. So like if you were in your hammock and something happened, then you could just roll over and get in your hole and be ready to fight.
We're going to go to pictures now.
Show this picture.
Oops. Direction, sorry.
Here are a couple of pictures showing living conditions that I experienced. The one on the right is a bunker at the Da Nang Air Base, and you can see that it's essentially stacks of sandbags. There was some metal across the top, and then some sandbags on top of that metal. And this particular bunker was used by myself and another Marine. There was one cot in there, and we took turns using the cot. If I was sleeping, he would be standing watch, and if he was sleeping, I would be standing watch. And the rest of the time, we weren't there. We were either on work details, or we were doing perimeter defense at the base, or we were off on a listening position at night, or we were doing search and clear operations coming from the base. On the left-hand side, that picture is, that was my bedroom out at Hill 55. We called that bush country. It was countryside as opposed to the air base in the city of Da Nang. About 12 miles or so southwest of Da Nang, in some territory that later earned the name the Dakota Territory. And that name comes from the wild times of the early development of the Dakotas. There was a lot of anarchy, a lot of lawlessness going on. Dakota Territory was a place where we called it a free fire zone. If we saw anything in there, it was a valid target. And the civilians had been moved out to protect them. But this particular bunker held 3 Marines. Basically, it was a place where we put our equipment, and there were no cots. If you wanted to sleep in there, you either sat on the ground or laid down on the ground. And it wasn't too bad unless it rained. Then, of course, it flooded.